This is how to get.
Today, or this weekend, is the summer solstice, a time long associated with balance, seasonal balance, a time traditionally celebrated through societal joy, embodied through circle dances and other forms of revelry. We gather today, perhaps thinking of these things, but mindful also that times have changed a lot, that what most of us are experiencing these days is not balance. It's not joy or a sense of peace, but confusion, fear, rage, chaos. In recent years, we've seen floods devour towns and wildfires sweep across continents. We've watched poverty and war displace millions and fragile peace agreements unravel again and again. Disruptive technology and terrorism are reshaping life as we know it faster than we can process. And the cost of living climbs, and wages stall, and jobs are being deleted, and critical service agencies are being shuttered. And fascism is once again being empowered. And we wake up each and every day to new terrors. I am, and I think we are, individually and collectively, exhausted, terrified, honestly, off balance, unable to keep up, to make sense of things. How did all of this even happen? Everything just feels so chaotic these days. Not, not just like something is temporarily out of order and we'll get back to equilibrium soon, but like everything is being disrupted, endangered, and destroyed. It is so disorienting that despair is becoming rampant. And yet, as I was reminded recently, we are not the first nation or the first generation to experience this kind of thing. And as much as I hate to say it, as far as I can tell, we won't be the last. Because, in part, chaos is woven through life. Chaos is how everything started. And as much as we try to deny or control it, it is here to stay and to be reckoned with. And while it might feel futile to try to bring order to all that has already been disordered, we do have the power, if nothing else, to order how we think about chaos. So I want to share a story with you. A few weeks ago, my husband and I had the privilege of traveling out of the country. It was a trip that we had planned and had looked forward to for a very long time. But as the time came closer, as I prepared, I found myself terrified of being recognized as an American while traveling and having to explain what's going on here. I heard that phones are being searched for liberal content at the borders, and I was terrified even before leaving of the whole re-entry process, convinced that I'd be sent off to a distant for-profit prison because, well, there's UU content on my phone. None of that, thankfully, happened. We arrived and returned safely, luggage intact, and thankfully neither of us got sick. We spent time with family and we passed through beautiful landscapes and took a social media break and had lots of naps. And within days, that anxiety that I'd been carrying around started to ease. Oddly enough, as I walked through streets that were built over ancient roads, as I visited museums that stood on the very site of ancient cathedrals, that stood on the very site of ancient mosques, that stood on the site of churches, that stood on the site of ancient Greek temples. Everywhere I looked, there were ruins beneath ruins beneath ruins. Layers of stories told, made up, or lost. Layers of life, of suffering, of sorrow, and survival. Creativity and survival. As a result of all of that, I felt something shift inside me, because suddenly the chaos of this time, the chaos of our moment in history, felt less final, less exceptional. It became something I could place into a larger story, a larger framework of human history and possibility. We are not the first to be humbled by the human capacity for ignorance, for greed or honor, for intolerance or apathy. We are not the first to mourn what has been lost and to wonder what comes next. And we are certainly not the first to realize, as change is thrust upon us, that we need to change our responses to it. We need, above all else, to find ways to stay present and claim our ability in this generation, in this time and place, to respond creatively. Now, in that broader view, the chaos I'd been struggling with these past many months and years, while it was still there, and actually, I have to say it has grown in the last 24 hours, it took on a different quality. It's no longer just frightening, it's starting to feel familiar. And because of that, I might even say holy. Let me explain. As much as human civilizations have been shaped by the battle against chaos, acknowledging it as more nuanced than just terrifying is age old. It's mirrored in so many religious stories, including those involving the Hindu goddess of creation and destruction, Kali, the Maori, the Yoruba, and Navajo creation stories, the Sumerian and Egyptian creation stories, and even the creation story of Genesis. In each of these, life is generated not when everything is calm and peaceful and orderly. Life is generated through unrestrained wildness, through chaos. The creation story I was raised with imagined the Spirit of God hovering over the deep, swirling, chaotic void, in Hebrew, tohu vavohu, and from that chaos, light was born. There's always been something compelling to me about that story. Even science affirms that physical existence, that the universe began with a hot, chaotic soup of particles, quarks and gluons and photons. New life comes into being not despite, but through chaos, albeit not without disruption, pain, loss. We see this mirrored in nature all the time. Stars and galaxy come about after intense pressure and collapse. Fields are given shape and are made fertile by floodwaters. Fire and lava flow from volcanoes births new land, even now at this moment. Seeds and soil violently split open to allow the unfurling of green into this world. We, too, are shaped by chaos, not just in history, but in our own lives, through devastating losses, for example, that end up somehow over time opening our hearts. a breakdown that forces a new beginning, the taking of unforeseen risks, an unwelcome truth that shakes our foundations, but ultimately causes us to reach out to one another in empathy and compassion. New life can and does come from chaos, through chaos. And yet, oh, do we resist it? Of course we do. Chaos is frightening, to say the least. It threatens what we have carefully built, that sense of security, that sense of control. It threatens that sense of control that we feel we should always have. So we do our best to stay faithful to what we can do when in the midst of the upheaval. What can we do? We can get up to watch the sunrise, to see where it is on the horizon today. We can revise our to-do lists. We can clean the kitchen. We can feed the kids. We can go to that protest march or support those who are going. We can look each other in the eyes and say, I see you. I hear you, and I need you. To the best of our ability, we can work to put frames of interpretation, of meaning or purpose around whatever is spinning, whatever is shattering. Doing that is not delusional. It is not weakness. It's human. It is human to try to order chaos in those ways. It is an act of integrity, honoring our humanity, our suffering, and our innate capacity for compassion and creativity, honoring our resilience. Just think of the frazzled parent helping a crying child find its way back to calm. Think of an activist building coalitions, heartbreak after heartbreak. Think of an artist turning grief into a masterpiece of truth-telling through color and form or music. And think of us lighting a chalice on a Sunday morning, together, intentionally, welcoming 1 hour of life's tumultuous senses. 1 hour to feel in our bones the beating of chaos and beauty intertwined, madness and joy. Whatever else may bring us together, there's that. As Unitarian Universalists, we gather not because we are arrogant enough to think that chaos will spare us, not because we think we can definitively outsmart it, but because we believe chaos does not have the final word, because we have choices that we can still make. Still, when it comes, as it is at this very moment and as it will, anxiety, confusion, and grief are generally going to be part of the story in every nation and generation. So part of our work has to be self-compassion and self-regulation, because this is hard stuff. Nurturing the creative potential of chaos is essential and very hard spiritual work. No matter what's changing, no matter what's swirling around, we have to be committed to helping one another tend our spirits, our bodies, our breath, our nervous system, our communities, our planet, each in our own way in our little corner of the world. So thankfully, there are lots of ways to do that. And I want to suggest that we commit to starting with and returning over and over again to breathing mindfully, longer on the exhale, humming and singing, placing a hand on the heart or belly, visualizing objectively as if on a screen those things that worry us, that enrage, that terrify or stupefy us. Resist internalizing those images. Another idea is to get a change of scenery, even if it's just outside your front door. Engage your senses. Look at the horizon. Touch something solid. Smell a flower. Take off your shoes. Let your feet find the ground and drink a lot more water. Notice life's layers. Allow yourself to be curious about all the stories that are being told, the stories that are being made up, and about the stories that may be lost. Say to yourself out loud if you can, and maybe to a trusted someone else, "Oh, this is hard, but it's worth it." Reach less for answers than for presence, and remember, you're not alone. Help spread the word of our innate interdependence and creativity. Look to all the seasons, to the changing face of the moon, the waxing and waning of tides and sunlight. These acts may be small, and they may seem self-indulgent, but they are essential. They are how we humans have for millennia woven stability and balance in the midst of life's storms and disruptions and changes. They are how we fortify ourselves so that we can look beyond the immediate to the bigger picture of cycles and seasons, the bigger picture in which the human story has been unfolding. It goes without saying that chaos is not just personal, it is systemic, predictably showing up in our governments, our economy, our environment, our institutions, our streets, just when we think we've got it under control. Look to the edges, look to the margins, and know this: it is not the end. When chaos appears, consider that it just might be an invitation, one that we can choose to be present to and to respond to faithfully, because we hold vision for the best of what human beings are capable of. As you use, we organize, we collaborate, we listen deeply, especially to those long silenced. We vote, we volunteer, we create, we design for resilience, not perfection. We plant gardens. We plant gardens not knowing if we will live to see the bloom, but trusting that someone will. All of these can be very helpful ways to order our thoughts and our deeds around the reality of chaos. So when the world shakes, and when your heart breaks, and when the path disappears, breathe. Let there be light. Be a bearer of light. Reach out to one another and remember, we each are made of stars and soil, of chaos and courage. And something beautiful may yet be born from the very place we thought would end us. As the old saying goes, they tried to bury us, but we didn't know, and they didn't know, that we were seeds. Like seeds, may we rise. Blessed be.